And a few questions on the challenges. As you have been able to see other realtors and other teams abroad, what do you think is the main challenge for specific countries? I'm sure it's going to be different by country, but like, let's say the top three challenges besides not having an MLS to start with. Many countries don't have one. So the search there is slightly more manual. Although some countries are trying to get more technology out there, still not as mainstream as going to the Zillows of the world and looking for a property at a certain price range.
Yeah, so again, I think the magic, which again, we're still learning and refining constantly, is understanding the ecosystem, right? So I'll like everyone wants to know, how do we start a country, right? So first of all, we need to understand what the total addressable market is from an agent count and transaction count, right? Because our model is a capped model, right? Like, there's some beautiful islands in the Caribbean with very high price points, but there's like literally 100 people who dominate the sales, and the frequency and the number of transactions is too low. Where just as a capped model doesn't make sense for us, right?
Mhm.
Like the volume and commissions are interesting, but we limit what we participate in the transaction. So there might just not be enough volume for us to go to certain countries, which is always a super, super interesting math problem. And then once we get there is understanding the ecosystem. So who are the players? Who do we need to attract over either whether it's operationally or regionally or leadership wise or forward facing wise, where we can become a serious player very quickly. And then making sure that our model adapts correctly. So I am very clear that we don't need to be all things to all people, right? Like we're only going to get X percentage of the total real estate practitioners, and that's perfectly okay. And we don't need to be all things to all people. And so we need to make the decision like, hey, is this interesting enough for us to spend time, energy, and money and resources? And if it is, let's do the best job we can to localize it, right? Because I think we're just like simple words. Like in some countries, we don't use realty. Like it's not a word
Mhm.
that resonates. So we have to call it the right thing and make sure we're not calling them real estate agents if they're estate agents, right? Like if there's nuances to each market that I think when some American companies show up, they skip the details and it's clunky and it feels like a foreign invader versus someone who is taking the time to learn the local nuances and the local culture and the local customs on how to operate in that segment of the business.